Welcome to Management Development Unlocked, where you will learn how to nurture a world-class management team. And now your host, Eric Girard.
Hi, I'm Eric Girard, CEO of Girard Training Solutions. Chapter 7 is probably my favorite chapter of the book, the one on coaching and feedback. I believe passionately that everyone deserves great coaching and that all managers should be great coaches. You'll get a great primer in this episode where I talk about the Grow coaching model and the SBI feedback model. They're both quick and easy to learn, but immensely impactful. I also talk about rewards and recognition, and not necessarily the ones with lots of zeros attached. You can effectively reward and recognize your team for little or no money. Pay attention to my story about Stanley and the deep impact he made on so many people. Enough of me yammering on. Time to hear me yammering on in a proper recording studio. Chapter 7, Coaching and Feedback. When you build a coaching habit, you can more easily break out of 3 vicious circles that plague our workplaces: creating overdependence, getting overwhelmed, and becoming disconnected. Michael Bungay Stanier. It's surprising that only 73% of organizations recognize coaching as a top management need, according to an Arnott and Sparrow study. Even more surprising, only 5% claim to have managers who had been trained to coach their team members. There's more. Michael Bungay Stanier, in his book, The Coaching Habit, says nearly 75% of managers have received training in how to coach their team members, yet 73% of team members never receive coaching. Even among those who do, fewer than 25% of team members said coaching helped them, and 10% said the coaching from their managers actually hurt them. Here again, we get some insight into how your role as a manager means you must evolve beyond focusing only on your own tasks and take proactive steps to help your team perform better. What's in it for you? As a new manager, coaching and feedback will be the best tools to assess your team's performance on a regular basis. If done consistently, you will be able to observe whether or not progress is being made toward goals, delegate with more confidence, and take action. Done well, coaching can be a powerful problem-solving tool that builds and strengthens a bond between you and your team members. Eric's story. At one Silicon Valley company, I received the antithesis of coaching. My manager and I were having a disagreement about something during a meeting. She took me to the corner of a busy break room where people were coming and going and said, "This is where coaching comes in. Maybe this isn't the job for you." I remember being gobsmacked for a couple reasons. First off, this wasn't coaching in any form that I knew of. Second, it happened in public, within earshot of others. And finally, she actually threatened my job in this coaching session. The lesson: always coach in private and make sure to be curious and ask questions in a non-threatening way, avoiding statements that might make the coachee defensive. Assessing the team. How do you diagnose your team's performance? The following questions can help you understand the problems, if there are any, and find the right solutions. Why don't people do what we want them to do? There could be a universe of reasons. Ferdinand F. Fornes, in his book, Why Employees Don't Do What They're Supposed to Do and What You Can Do About It, lists 16 of them. 1. They don't know why they should do it. 2. They don't know how to do it. 3. They don't know what they are supposed to do. 4. They think your way will not work. 5. They think their way is better. 6. They think something else is more important. 7. There is no positive consequence for doing it. 8. They think they are doing it. 9. They are rewarded for not doing it. 10. They are punished for doing it. 11. They anticipate a negative consequence. 12. There's no negative consequence for not doing it. 13. There are obstacles beyond their control. 14. Personal limits prevent them from performing. 15. Personal problems. 16. No one could do it. What could you do about it? You have many options. Coaching, feedback, and ignoring the problem all come to mind. Which will get you the best results? What assumptions might you make about the cause? As humans and managers, we're wired to make quick assumptions and jump to conclusions, but consider a new tack. Are these assumptions correct? Challenge your assumptions and dig deeper. When and why do we coach? There are plenty of good reasons to coach, but most of them fall into a handful of top categories. We coach when an employee is doing well, when an employee has a performance problem, and we also coach to develop an employee, to address and hopefully improve poor performance, to motivate a good performer to achieve even more. Coaching defined. The Ken Blanchard companies define coaching as a deliberate process using focused conversations to create an environment that results in accelerated performance and development. Using coaching behaviors, facilitating, inspiring, and guiding, in management positively impacts productivity, creates a sense of trust between managers and their teams, and improves team members' expertise in mastering their tasks. While traditional management tells people what to do, makes assumptions, and solves problems, a coach-like manager asks their team what needs to be done, checks in with them, encourages brainstorming, and helps others solve problems. True story. Alan Mulally, who became the CEO of Ford Motor Company in 2006, brought in a coach named Marshall Goldsmith, remember him from Chapter 1? To work with him and his top executives on management development. Goldsmith encouraged the team to be more collaborative, communicate better, and take ownership of their work. Through coaching, Mulally and his team were able to turn around the struggling company, which had lost $30 billion in the previous 5 years. By 2009, Ford had returned to profitability, and Mulally was hailed as a hero for his management and strategic vision. The success of Ford under Mulally's management is a powerful example of how coaching can help organizations achieve their goals and overcome challenges. 4 essential coaching skills. Coaching is a powerful managerial tool that should be part of the job description for most managers. How can you develop those skills? The Ken Blanchard companies share 4 essential coaching skills to have more effective interactions with their people. 1. Listen to learn. Effective managers listen to learn something they might not have known before, get a different perspective, or hear new ideas. 2. Inquire for insight. Managers who are great coaches ask questions that encourage their people to share ideas that can benefit the team's goals. 3. Tell your truth. Being honest about what you see and hear in the coaching interaction is important, but doing so in a kind, forthright way can be empowering to both parties. 4. Express confidence. This is how managers can preserve good relationships with their team regardless of the type of conversation. You may have noticed that these essential coaching skills have much in common with the previous chapter's guidance on building trust. That's not a coincidence, as effective coaching relationships are always built on mutual trust. Coaching methods. I'm a big fan of the GROW model, which stands for goals, reality, options, and way forward, or what will happen next. A GROW conversation can be initiated by a manager or team member and doesn't have to be linear. The other beauty of the GROW model is that it can be used for small goals as well as big ones. For example, a team member may have a small goal to improve their public speaking skills. Using the GROW model, they can clarify their goal, assess their current level of confidence in public speaking, explore different ways to improve their skills, and develop an action plan to practice speaking in front of others. Here's how it works. G. Goal. What would be accomplished during the coaching session? The coach and the team member agree on realistic goals for the session and set time limits if necessary. The coach facilitates this by asking questions that encourage the coachee to articulate what he or she hopes to accomplish during the coaching session, and prodding if necessary to clarify that goal and to ensure they're both on the same page. Pro tip: keep those SMART goal concepts in mind. Example: what, specifically, would you like to accomplish during this time? R. Reality. Describes the current reality of the situation. What is happening for you and for the team member? The coach asks questions about what is known about the situation or issue, what the person being coached wants to happen, what the coach wants to happen, and to verify or clarify the person's view of the situation. Example: what is the present situation in more detail? If the team member is initiating, they explain the reality of the situation as best they can, and the coach asks clarifying questions. O. Options. What are the potential options or solutions? The coach asks questions to encourage the coachee to identify all possible options, to think outside the box. The coach listens, takes notes, and asks questions to explore each option. If this is a team member-initiated conversation, the coachee should come with some options ready to explore with the coach. Example: what are all the different ways in which you could approach this issue? W. Way forward, or what will happen next? What will the person being coached actually do next? The coach asks questions to determine the specifics of how the person being coached will move forward, test the validity of the plan, identify obstacles and solutions to those obstacles, and offer support. If obstacles can't be overcome, it may be necessary to revisit the goals, reality, and/or options again. This is an example of how this model is not strictly linear. Example: what could arise to hinder you in taking these steps or meeting the goal? Listening and asking good questions. Coaching is all about listening, asking questions, and not giving advice. That may seem counterintuitive, but good coaching does not mean giving the person being coached all the answers. It means helping them grow so they learn to figure out the answers for themselves. Michael Bungay-Stanier calls this taming the advice monster. Listening behaviors. This might be a good time to quickly refresh yourself on the active listening section in Chapter 1, because active listening is essential for giving useful feedback. By actively listening to the employee, the manager can learn about their strengths and weaknesses, what motivates them, and what challenges they face. Additional best practices to ensure you're really listening and not just waiting for your turn to talk include these 6 behaviors. Reassuring. Letting the coachee know that you're there for them, that this is their time, and that you're not there to judge. Restating and paraphrasing. Rephrasing what the coachee said in your own words to ensure you understood what they meant. Summarizing. Restating key elements of what you just talked about. Clarifying content. Making sure you understand what you're talking about. Clarifying process. Making sure you understand how the coachee wants to discuss the topic at hand. Showing empathy. Non-judgmental listening and demonstrating that you really feel what they feel. Asking good questions. The best coaching questions are open-ended questions, which elicit longer answers that provide a lot of information. Open-ended questions can help you gain valuable insights into how the employee is performing, what challenges they're facing, and what support they need. Additionally, asking questions helps to clarify any misunderstandings and ensures the feedback is accurate and relevant. Examples start with what, why, how much, how many. Closed-ended questions elicit short answers, usually yes or no, and are useful for clarification. Here are a couple examples. Do you have the information you need? Does the customer know about the delay? Probing questions are great for getting more detail. For example, what is it about blank that interests you? If that were to occur, what would it do for you? Going deeper. Michael Bungay-Stanier offers 7 essential coach-like questions to get a coaching session rolling. You can easily weave these into the GROW model. The Kickstart question. Ask, what's on your mind? To initiate a focused conversation. The AWE question. Ask, and what else? To generate greater understanding, mindfulness, and self-knowledge. The Focus question. Ask, what's the real challenge here for you? This can generate amazing insights from your coachee. The Foundation question. Ask, what do you want? And later, but what do you really want? To get to the main challenge. The Lazy question. Ask, how can I help? This prevents you from jumping in and trying to save the day before you really understand what's going on. The Strategic question. Ask, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? This helps the team member focus and commit on their own. The Learning question. Ask, what was most useful for you in this session? This ensures everyone finds these meetings valuable. You can even coach yourself. Mike Normand, in Coach Yourself Up, Self-Coaching Skills for Success, outlines a method to help you be your own coach. In his book, he teaches readers to learn to notice your self-limiting behaviors, see how staying quiet in meetings can keep you from a promotion or personal satisfaction at work, discover how never saying no may be the main roadblock to your advancement, begin to question the deep stories, i.e., unconscious assumptions, self-limiting beliefs, fueling your behaviors. Harness the superpower of managing your attention to identify and challenge those deep stories. Feedback. There will be times when you need to deliver feedback, either positive or constructive. Making feedback a habit will result in a more engaged, productive, and purposeful environment, and learning how to do it well will only benefit you and your team. Timing is crucial, so it's always better to address an issue early than to wait for the performance review. Ensure that the feedback is accurate and relevant. This creates a more supportive and effective work environment that promotes growth and development. Good feedback helps employees to improve their performance, achieve their goals, and feel more engaged and motivated in their work. Eric's story. I went to work for a very large and successful tech company in Silicon Valley and was racked with imposter syndrome. The feeling that I didn't belong there and would be called out as a fraud at any moment. However, in meeting after meeting with my boss, she reassured me I was doing well and meeting expectations. I'm pretty open about asking for and receiving feedback, and I did get some during the year, but nothing I thought was a showstopper. My manager went out on maternity leave and left the interim manager with a stack of performance reviews to deliver. When I got mine, I was beyond dismayed. It was horrible. It included phrases like, Eric only does well on tasks he likes. Ouch! I had no idea things were this bad, and to make it worse, I couldn't talk with my regular manager about the review because she was out and unavailable for the next several months. I felt absolutely betrayed. The interim manager tried to put a positive spin on things, but I was destroyed. I felt like my regular manager had lied to me. If we'd had frequent, honest conversations about my shortcomings, I could have worked to correct them before the fateful annual performance review. Reflection. Why is delivering feedback such an important part of your job? Are you looking forward to giving constructive feedback? Why or why not? Why do we put it off? How to give feedback. As we know, there are 2 types of feedback, positive and constructive. There are some simple things you can do to ensure your feedback is received well. First, check to be sure the person is ready to receive the feedback. For example, make sure this is a good time to talk. You never know what's going on with folks, so allow for the fact that this may not be a good time, and if it isn't, schedule some time for later. Always, always deliver feedback and coaching in private. Remember my example with the manager who delivered coaching in a crowded break room? Bad move. Be objective. Pretend to play back a video you recorded on your phone. Describe in neutral terms what the person said or did, just the facts here, why it was ineffective, the impact of the behavior, and the behavioral change you want. Remember that good feedback is specific, descriptive, constructive, and sensitive, as opposed to bad feedback, which is nonspecific, judgmental, and personal. The Situation Behavior Impact, SBI, model is a good place to start. Here is how it works. Situation. Be specific and describe the circumstances. Avoid words such as always, often, or never. Behavior. Describe the facts and what you personally observed without statements that convey opinion or judgment. Impact. Then share, without harsh words or judgment, how the behavior affected you, your team, your client, and the business. Explain your feelings and be open to hearing the other side of the story. Here's a good example of this approach in action for positive feedback. This is real feedback I gave my graphic designer, Sandra. When you created the slides for this class, Situation, you used fantastic design techniques and anticipated what would be most helpful to learners, behavior. And I think that resulted in a more robust presentation that will engage learners and keep them from tuning out. Thank you. Impact. This, of course, also works for constructive feedback. When you made your presentation at the team meeting today, Situation, you appeared unprepared, stumbling over your words and getting lost in your notes, behavior. And I think that resulted in people tuning out and not hearing the great data you had to share. Impact. Best practices. Recap your feedback in an email and save it electronically. When you do this, you're 1. Creating a record, and 2. Building your employees' performance review as you go. Understand how each person on your team feels about public praise. Some lap it up, while others would rather crawl under a table than be recognized in public. Try it. Consider a recent instance where you saw a colleague engaging in a behavior for which you would like to give feedback. Feedback could be either positive or constructive. Include the precise time and location of the incident in a single phrase that describes the scenario. For instance, when discussing the new project timeline during yesterday's team meeting. Next, use precise, factual language to explain the conduct you noticed, as in, you interrupted others while they were speaking and didn't let them finish what they were saying. Avoid using terms that are subjective or judgmental. Finally, explain how this behavior affected you or the team. Be precise about how it changed the circumstances or the meeting's conclusion. For instance, this prevented the team from moving forward and caused us to fall behind schedule. Handling negative reactions. As a new manager, you will be dealing with each team member's history with prior managers. If some manager before you disappointed a team member, they may hold it against you, though you have done nothing to deserve that projected disappointment. Trust building will eventually overcome such management hangovers. When you give constructive feedback to a direct report, there may be a negative response. The person may assume you're attacking them as a person or bring up other issues not related to the feedback you're giving. One great technique from the book Crucial Conversations by Patterson, Grenny, McMillan, and Switzler is called contrasting. Contrasting is a don't/do statement you can use to make clear any misconceptions or misunderstandings the other person may have, and helps you handle negative reactions using empathy, sharing facts, and encouraging dialogue. In short, When getting into a crucial conversation, you can temporarily pause the conversation and clearly explain what you don't intend for the conversation, and then clarify what you do intend. Say, for example, you're giving constructive feedback on how a direct report came across in a team meeting. They respond with something like, "Oh, so you think I'm a terrible team member, is that it?" You can use contrasting by saying something like, "I don't mean to say you're a terrible team member. I think you bring a lot to the team. I do mean to point out that by looking at your phone during the entire meeting, you gave the impression you weren't engaged." See how it works? A don't mean statement followed by a do mean clarifying statement. Another example I like to use is, "I would like to see more attention paid to the quality of the work, but I don't mean to say that you're not doing a good job." Another technique is called dismiss and redirect. So back to our example, the team member says, "Oh, so you think I'm a terrible team member, is that it?" You respond with, "I'd like to talk about that separately. First, I need you to focus on how others might have perceived you when you looked at your phone during the entire meeting." In this case, we're dismissing the incorrect conclusion your team member came to, and we'll address it later, hopefully by reassuring them that overall, they're a good team member, they just made an unfortunate choice. Then we refocus on the issue at hand. Some tips I've used for handling negative reactions. Before you disagree, show the other person you understand their worries and emotions by acting with empathy. Use expressions like, "I understand why you feel that way," or "I can see why you would think that." List your details. Be succinct and unambiguous when stating the facts that back up your position. To support your claims, give concrete examples and evidence. Be respectful. Throughout the conversation, act and speak in a respectful manner. Focus on the current problem and refrain from criticizing or assaulting the other person. Encourage conversation. Invite the other person to express their opinions and feelings regarding the matter. To encourage a fruitful conversation, listen intently and pose open-ended inquiries. Find areas of agreement and common ground. Instead of attempting to win the debate or prove your point, concentrate on coming up with a solution that benefits everyone. Coaching feedback coaching. A cool technique I learned is to open a feedback session with a coaching question. For example, "How are things going with your latest project?" is an open-ended question that gets the team member talking and gives you insight into how they think things are going. Then you can provide SBI feedback following the model. Finally, ask another coaching question. For example, "So what are your next steps?" Just be careful to keep it genuine and not trap your team members by always asking a question followed by constructive feedback. Summary. Coaching and feedback are foundational activities of management, and you'll do both often. Remember to ask open-ended, coach-like questions that draw out the other person and encourage them to come to their own conclusions. The GROW model is a simple way to structure a coaching conversation, and the coaching habit will help you ask great questions. When giving feedback, be specific, descriptive, constructive, and sensitive. Use your empathy skills to determine when and how to provide feedback. Don't wait to provide feedback until the issue becomes overwhelming. Feedback truly is a gift if delivered well. Activity. Script out some praise or constructive feedback you would give to a team member using the SBI model. Chapter 8. Rewards and Recognition. Data shows there is no such thing as too much recognition, as long as it's genuine and appropriately given. More than 40% of employees surveyed view the right amount of recognition as a few times a week or more. Workhuman Gallup Report: Unleashing the Human Element at Work, Transforming Workplaces Through Recognition. As you progress in your role as a manager, it can get easy to grow overburdened with daily chores, meetings, and general management responsibilities, and even easier to forget about rewards and recognition for your team members. Yet, To promote a healthy work atmosphere, retain top personnel, and promote team performance, managers must put rewards and recognition first. What's in it for you? You might think rewarding team members for doing their jobs is unnecessary because they are merely carrying out their duties and what's expected of them, and they are earning a paycheck for their work. Old schoolers like to say, "My reward was not getting fired." That approach in today's day and age, however, usually results in disengaged and unmotivated workers with corresponding downturns in output and job satisfaction. We're not talking about parades and balloons every time someone gets a job done, but even the simplest gestures to recognize good work can go a long way. A handwritten letter, public recognition, flexible schedule, or another form of low-cost or even free appreciation are just a few examples of ways to demonstrate thanks. Jennifer Harity, in an article on Indeed.com, gives 5 benefits for rewarding team members, saying it reduces team member turnover, generates more revenue, increases customer satisfaction, improves team member engagement, and creates a fun company culture. Well, I want those benefits, and it's easy to do, you might say. Just give cash bonuses and raises. Not so fast. Dan Pink, in his book Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, notes that money is not the primary thing that motivates us. We need to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table so they can focus on the work. Well, if money isn't a suitable way to reward and recognize team members, what is? Pink suggests it's 3 things. Autonomy, the ability to be self-directed. Mastery, the ability to master a skill or discipline. And purpose, the ability to do work that matters and contributes to the greater good. Eric's story. In 2005, I had just gone through a big merger between 2 Silicon Valley companies that were equal in terms of size and revenue. I was now reporting to someone who had been my peer at the acquiring company. My new manager and I met over lunch to discuss my role on the new team and my portfolio of projects. One of them was highly visible and highly consequential. I was going to lead the project from soup to nuts, as the saying goes, from beginning to end. The manager explained the project, then handed me a folder, inside of which was a certificate for an internal company award that included a substantial cash bonus. She told me she was rewarding me for my future good performance and wished me luck. I recall walking away from that meeting confused. Why had she given me a reward before I'd done any work on the project? It didn't make any sense. I don't remember being any more or less motivated to do a good job because of the bonus, and I'm still confused to this day by the fact that she gave it to me before I'd done anything. The best rewards. The best rewards are those that are matched to the person. For example, my graphic designer, Sandra, likes white wine. After a mammoth rebranding and redesign project, I went online and had a very nice bottle of white wine sent to her. That meant a lot more to her than a token cash bonus. She even texted me and told me when she and her husband drank it with dinner. You should also match the reward to the achievement. In my story, I had achieved nothing, yet I still got a fat check. I still don't understand that one, but you're darn right I kept the money. Be timely and specific. Any reward must be immediate and personalized. Giving a generic reward 3 months after the completion of a project or initiative is demotivating. Eric's story. Jeff was one of my best managers for many reasons, not the least of which was his ability to reward and recognize the team in a way that cost almost nothing. We used to have weekly team meetings, and one week, Jeff walked in with a little stuffed gorilla. He explained that he would give the gorilla to the team member who had delighted an internal customer that week. The gorilla would rotate, but your rights to him were not guaranteed. You had to do something above and beyond for one of our customers to earn him. We agreed to this and named the gorilla Stanley. Stanley made the rounds week by week, and whoever earned him gave him a place of pride in their office. We even made a t-shirt for him with the company name on it. I earned Stanley many times, and he always sat on top of my bookshelf, greeting visitors as they walked in. In 2004, as I mentioned, I was diagnosed with cancer. Jeff came to see me in the hospital and brought Stanley. He explained that the team wanted me to have him, permanently. In my drug-addled state, all I could manage was to croak, "Stanley," and then fall back asleep. Stanley took a seat of honor in my various offices for years. When my girls were old enough, I brought him out and told them his story and explained I wanted them to take care of him. They loved him fiercely, and we still have him safely put away. Stanley probably cost Jeff all of $15, but the value the team and I received was priceless. Principles of recognition. Bob Nelson, in 1501 Ways to Reward Employees, says there are 3 principles of recognition to consider. You get what you reward. When you acknowledge good performance, team members tend to repeat it. Think about how many times we each competed to earn Stanley by delighting an internal customer. The best recognition is contingent. When you compliment someone, you're not offering a pleasantry. You're reacting to a concrete action with positive attention. Giving someone a reward based on future actions or saying, "Nice job," to someone who hasn't actually done good work is meaningless. The best recognition is free. Simple words of appreciation are always powerful. One of my favorite ways to recognize someone is with a quick note. A handwritten note is best, though I must admit I primarily use email since my team is global. Summary. Setting up a team recognition system doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Think of my story about Stanley. How many benefits do you see there? According to my quick assessment, a recognition system helps reduce team member turnover. No one left the team while Jeff was at the helm. Generate more revenue. Since we were an internal training department, we didn't generate revenue, but we did see increased demand for our services. Increase customer satisfaction. As Stanley made his rounds, our team's camaraderie brought delight to internal customers all over the company. Improve team member engagement. We loved being on Jeff's team. In addition to Stanley and handwritten notes, Jeff was constantly thinking of a variety of ways to recognize us. Create a fun company culture. Other teams in the department often commented on our team culture. Activity. Create a simple, inexpensive recognition program for your team and implement it this month. Coaching and feedback are absolutely foundational to your job as a manager, and I encourage you to incorporate them into your daily routine. Your job is to use your newfound empathy skills to ask open-ended, probing questions and listen. Really listen. Also, pick up The Coaching Habit today, one of the very best books on coaching I've seen. What did you think of the Stanley story? I love telling that story. Not only am I glad I recovered from cancer and had kids to give him to, but I love how a cheap stuffed animal motivated so many people. I've heard of managers getting their team to do amazing things for a loaf of homemade banana bread. What can you come up with to get your team to go over the top for you? Our time together on this journey is almost over. 1 episode left. If you'd like to talk with me about how I can help you or your new managers smoothly make the transition to management, please email me at eric@gerardtrainingsolutions.com or message me on LinkedIn. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Management Development Unlocked. Want more? Get a ton of insider tips and tools at gerardtrainingsolutions.com.